Brought to you by...
We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I am Rhoda Ngonzi, our sign language interpreter Elizabeth Nakakone. Let's dig into it. President Yoweri Museveni has urged National Agricultural Research Organization to sensitize farmers against nomadic farming and instead adopt zero grazing to let the cows gain weight necessary for modernizing beef production for trade. He said nomadic farming makes cows use a lot of energy, which can affect the rate of build-up of its flesh. The president was today meeting technocrats from Naro over modernizing beef research production and improving trade. The president urged Naro to promote breeding cows for both beef and milk. He advised Naro to solve the issue of pasture through sensitizing agriculturalists to adopt the idea of planting grass, clearing bushes, and liberate the grass from the shadow. On the issue of vaccine, the president pledged to support Naro in the development of vaccines.
Their salary about 300.
Now, government has a firm commitment towards eliminating all the security threats in Uganda. This assurance comes at a time when the country continues to register progress in the fight against the ADF terrorists in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Addressing members of the interim parliamentary caucus at Kololo Independence Grounds, President Museveni said only 3 Ugandan soldiers had died. Speaking to the media shortly after the caucus meeting, after the caucus meeting, Thomas Tayawa said government is ready to present a comprehensive statement to Parliament on the UPDF operations in the DRC.
Where our focus was on security, with a major, should I say, focus also on our deployment in Congo, Operation Shuja. As you know, we have not yet brought a statement in Parliament, so the President felt it was very, very important to first talk to his NRM clan in the House. He first briefs us. If there are any issues, we first discuss, so that before we go onto the floor of the House, we have already briefed our very own frontline soldiers in the House. The President was very, very clear that the delay wasn't meant to divert Parliament or to say we've refused to bring a statement to the House. No. It was because we felt discussions at that level of such an important issue were premature. Government was still negotiating the final details with the government of Congo, and the moment you bring such a statement on the floor without a detailed agreement and finalizing all the negotiations, then you would end up having a debate that can escalate beyond what is desirable, and that would put our soldiers on risk. It would put the whole operation on risk. So the President felt that indeed now this is the right time, because we have discussed all the final details with the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So now after this we have resolved that we bring a statement on the floor of Parliament. The Prime Minister is going to coordinate us so that the Minister of Defense can bring a statement which can be debated. It's upon bringing that statement that now all issues which Parliament has been talking about, Uganda, you have not told us how you've deployed our soldiers, how they are doing, all those will be detailed in the statement. The mission, we won't leave. And as long as the Congolese government, the DRC government, is allowing us to be there. And we believe that, in fact, the government of Congo is benefiting them more. When you look at the vast area of Congo, with the UN having in peacekeepers, around 17,000 peacekeepers, but the borders are still porous. The ADF was even running airfields, they were running towns, running serious businesses. So how do we live before we sort out that? Okay? So in our agreements with the government of Congo, we agreed that we must exterminate the threat which was facing both countries, that is the DRC and Uganda. And before we do that, we believe that we cannot live, and we hope the Congolese government will continue showing us the goodwill and supporting the way it has been supporting us. By the way, in all this fight, the president has made it clear, we are supporting the Congolese army. They are at the forefront. We are supporting them because ADF has been operating on their ground, has been terrorizing their people. For us, they just came here, put bombs, but in DRC, they have been wreaking havoc all over. So the Congolese army is playing a lead role. We are supporting it. It's the operation of the government of Congo being supported by Uganda. But the support we are giving is very, very extensive, that we want to eliminate this threat forever. And we hope we will work close, and very, very soon. We've already, from the update the president has given us, our operation Shuja has already had a devastating effect on the operations of the ADF. We have destroyed their camps. We have found they had even mercenaries from Somalia, from Tanzania, and they have shown us proof of some of them who are dead. So this was not a simple matter. It's a very, very serious matter. We have to exhaustively handle it so that the future of Uganda is not at stake in any way.
Now, Uganda's outgoing ambassador to Sudan, His Excellency James William Chinobe, met and held discussions with His Excellency General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, President of the Transitional Council of the Republic of Sudan. In recognition of his efforts in promoting strong bilateral relations between Uganda and Sudan, Ambassador Chinobe was decorated with the first-class Order of the Nile Medal by President al-Burhan. The decoration ceremony took place at Sudan's Presidential Palace in Khartoum. Ambassador Chinobe expressed his gratitude at this recognition and praised the efforts by Presidents al-Burhan and Yoweri Museveni in ensuring that the cordial relations between the two countries continue growing from strength to strength.
I'm the outgoing ambassador of the Republic of Uganda in the Republic of Sudan. And this is a very great moment, first of all, personally for me as the ambassador who has been serving in this country for the last 4 years, but also has been serving as a diplomat for the last 12 years of my diplomatic career. I want to thank God in a special way for this honor bestowed upon me by the President of the Republic, recognizing the services of strengthening the bilateral relations of our two countries of Uganda and Sudan. This honor is personal to me, but it's a great honor also to the people I work with. So I pay tribute to all my colleagues I work with in the embassy. In a special way, I pay tribute to my president, the president of Uganda, who assigned me these duties and responsibilities to work here and the support he has given me. And in a special way, to recognize the support I've received from the government of the Republic of Sudan since I got accredited here. Because there's no possible achievement of strengthening relations that could have been achieved without the strong cooperation of all the officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, of the presidency, and the support of my two presidents. I want to wind up my term of office with more commitment to work toward strengthening the relations of these two countries and for the strengthening of relations of all of us in Africa. Uganda, Sudan, and the rest of Africa, we share a common destiny. And we strongly believe that to get out of all the challenges that we have as Africans, it's us to work together as Africans. So I salute my president here for persevering with the leadership despite the challenges, keeping the safety of the people of Sudan and steering the country the way he's doing it to deliver it to salvation. And I salute my presidents in Uganda, and I echo my commitment of Ugandans and President Museveni to continue working with the people of Sudan to make sure that we make Sudan, the region, and Africa a better place.
Defence and Internal Affairs Committee of Parliament is set to conduct a ground assessment of the security situation in Karamoja sub-region and surrounding areas. This comes in the wake of increasing cases of cattle rustling that have put Teso, Karamoja and other surrounding areas on tension. The Defence Committee Chairperson Rosemary Nyachikongoro wants security boosted in the affected areas to address the challenge of cattle theft.
Is an amateur video taken from Orungo, the border between Amudat and Katakwit districts of Karamoja and Teso sub-regions.
The UPDF officers are pleading they only allow this truck carrying their food.
Apparently, Teso from Katakwi had blocked the road on Tuesday morning, protesting the continuous raiding and stealing of their cattle. The fragile situation has been in the public sphere.
It is becoming very unfortunate for the country. I have just heard now that Honorable Pichuan, our colleague from Karenga, that his corral was raided last night, everything taken, the home torched, and even a brother killed.
Members of Parliament representing areas in and around Karamoja are worried of what may become of the area's security.
It will affect many areas. Like for instance, this Karamoja area neighbors Bogisu region, it neighbors Kapchorwa.
So we get Pokot, who are both Kenya, Uganda. We get the Turkana, who are Kenyan, and those from southern Sudan, even from Ethiopia, and the others, raiding on Karamoja because now they are armless. Now, what the Karamojongs have done is to rearm.
The Karamojong came in Paimo, Lai Muru. They raided over 34 acres of cattle. They picked over 100 goats. They went with it, and the army is trying to move.
To address this challenge, it will require long-term measures, as alluded to by Tororo North County Member of Parliament, Geoffrey Ekanya.
The people of Karamoja needs compulsory free education from primary to university, including tertiary education. That then you will have a cluster, a population of the people of Karamoja who will now then become the change agent when they go back and invest in the community.
It is because of such reasons that the Parliamentary Committee of Defence and Internal Affairs is set to assess the situation.
We are not going to keep quiet. You know, parliamentarians don't miss words. So we want to go on the ground. Whoever is concerned, whether it is UPDF, whether it is police, whether it is internal security, and we will discuss everything as they are.
Rosemary Nyachikongoro wants a boost in the security of the affected areas.
The warriors are within the population. So it is very, very tricky, but it needs thorough understanding and thorough studying so that the solution is given to the people of Karamoja and also those that are affected by the spilling over of the insecurity in the area.
The extent to which this will address the situation, only time will tell. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Now, the opposition in Parliament says that it is fuel marking and URE digital stamping of commodities that have contributed to the skyrocketing commodity prices. While speaking to journalists at Parliament, Butambala MP Mwanga Chivumbi, also Shadow Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, called upon government to drop the above two for the situation to stabilize.
According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics monthly consumer price index release for the month of February 2022, petrol and diesel had annual inflation of 34% and 26% respectively. Firewood too was reported by UBOS to have risen by 14% between February 2021 and 2022. Now the opposition in parliament think this is caused by the URA edicto stamping of commodities that started on 1st November 2021.
And almost immediately, prices of manufactured consumer goods went up. So for every bottle of a soda that comes out, it is stamped. A bar of shop or whatever, it is stamped. Now the ordinary cost of meeting that stamp in URA perspective was supposed to be borne by the manufacturer. But what the manufacturers do as smart business people, they pass on that cost straight away to a consumer price on retail or at a grocery.
The Prime Minister Robin Anabanja, while speaking to journalists at the House yesterday, said the skyrocketing commodity prices are caused by the high demand for the raw materials at the global market.
The prices are going up. Why? Because all countries opened at the same time. So those companies or factories in Indonesia, in Malaysia, China, they are overwhelmed by demand in all countries across the globe. Because some of these raw materials do not come from here.
Finance Shadow Minister Mwanga Chivumbi also attributed the situation to the fuel marking.
I know you may not know what fuel marking is. Now, fuel marking was something countries did 15 years ago. Uganda is the only country, by the way, in the world that marks fuel that is supposed to be consumed domestically. And the cost for each liter to mark it is 30 shillings. So to mark every single liter that is consumed locally, this company, the same company that is on digital stamp, SPA, is the same company again in fuel marking.
Items like soap, sugar, wheat flour, rice, beans, salt, petrol, and many other essentials have surged in prices beyond people's incomes and expectations over the past 3 months. Shamim Naiga, Gloria Gutabenchi, UBC News.
Now, government has clarified to the public about the issue of allowing the use of phones in schools, saying it's not yet approved. State Minister for Higher Education, John Chrysostom Muyingo, says the ministry is still studying the matter and will address it within the context of the larger framework of how to leverage ICT in facilitating learning in the education system.
There have been debates in the Ministry of Education on whether government should allow the use of gadgets in schools. A study by the ministry shows that in schools where learners are allowed to carry phones are monitored 10 times a day. The State Minister for Education, John Muyingo, while addressing the media in Kampala, says this might not be controllable.
These phones become destructive when they hinder our ability to concentrate on what we are supposed to do at a given time. So you can imagine what the situation might be for our younger people.
Muyingo says the ministry is carrying out discussions on whether to approve this, and if it's approved, it will come out with a policy to benefit both parties.
We know that ICT has come. We cannot run away from it. We just need to prepare ourselves. As soon as possible, we get this policy approved by our different system, we'll give the guidance that will be needed to absorb all this.
On schools that had already adopted this teaching method, Muyingo has this to say.
Let them follow the guidance I've given this afternoon. And I've all the trust that they will follow the guidelines.
In another development, schools have been urged to avoid unnecessary visitations by parents due to the increase in flu cases. He says they should wait for further communication from the ministry concerning visitations.
The Ministry of Health has assured our ministry that we should not be alarmed because this flu or cough is not due to COVID-19. With this expert advice from the Ministry of Health, as a ministry we shall make further consultations before we make a pronouncement on the way forward on visitation days.
Lydia Chomkama, UBC News.
Well, with that, we take a quick break. We'll return with more details. This is News Tonight.
Your MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily bundle of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 30 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 80 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 180 MBs. Dial *150*10# or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN.
MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Government of Uganda, through the Uganda Bureau of Statistics (UBOS), is undertaking nationwide census mapping aimed at providing an up-to-date list of enumeration areas and administrative units in the country ahead of the National Population and Housing Census of 2023. The UBOS field teams will be using Global Positioning Systems (GPS) for mapping all administrative infrastructure, households and other facilities such as hotels, schools, hospitals and water sources to facilitate production of the updated LC1, parish, sub-county and district area maps showing all the physical features and social amenities. The census mapping will further aid development of a countrywide data for information systems as a pillar for effective implementation of the parish development model. This is to appeal to the entire government leadership, all stakeholders and the general public to support the field teams that will be deployed across the country. Announced by Dr. Chris Ndatira Muchiza, the Executive Director and Chief Statistician. For further clarifications, please contact the Office of the Executive Director on 0755 342 128.
There have always been hard times, but these days are harder than most. Everyone is hurting. Everyone needs help. But some among us are asking the question, what if we didn't have to go through life's hardest moments alone? What if we were in it together? And just by asking that question, he changed my son's life. He created an online crowdfunding platform for Ugandans to help raise money for each other.
Thank you, Nixon, for helping me.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Where does it come from? That thing that makes us Ugandan. That thing that makes us different from everybody else. Where does it grow infinitely? Some say it's in our history, in our culture, and in our hearts, in our warm smiles and vast miles of coffee, dairy farmland, and amazing maize fields. It's in our inherent pursuit to always be better, to never stop growing and glowing. So you see, we are more than just a waving flag. We are a nation of sweat and skills, a nation of ideas and inventions. But what truly makes us Ugandan is our quest to improve the quality of life for Ugandans by creating sustainable jobs, businesses, and improving household incomes. That's what makes us Uganda Development Bank. Uganda Development Bank, inspiring development.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Tonight. Water and environment conservationists on an awareness walk to protect the environment have arrived in Toroti City, about 102 kilometers away from Lira City, which is their final destination. The environmentalists who embarked on their journey on 3rd March in Kampala are meant to cover 450 kilometers till they reach Lira City Hall. Look, let's take a look at the details.
In their campaign to mitigate climate change and raise awareness about conservation of the environment, the Walkers Association of Uganda embarked on 450-kilometer trek to northern Uganda through eastern route to send their message to the population.
The journey has been
successful journey. I must say we are only remaining with 75 kilometers to our last destination in Lira. Our experience on the way, right from Kampala to this spot where we are. This is a border from Soroti to Kalaki district. We are right now in the border, and we expect to go into another region.
So far, they have arrived in Soroti. The local communities have joined them in a tree planting exercise.
And definitely say that neem tree has multiple benefits.
Teso region is prone to negative impacts of climate change associated with prolonged spells of drought, floods, and water scarcity.
We have just started this Teso region. I've noticed there is some bit of conservation. All the wetland, as you see, they're intact. They have not been abused for wetland farming. So as we move ahead, we also expect to see some conservation program going on.
It's a challenge in some areas that we cannot access borehole water because of the type of the setting of some of our lands. And the lower part, I'm told, has a hard rock that we cannot access borehole water. The only source of water is the piped water. That's why you see, I've always said, Ahoja remains the only savior for the district and other parts of Teso.
Among the key sites visited by the workers in Soroti are several water springs and the solar pumping water system of National Water and Sewerage Corporation based in Nawoja. Joshua Kagoro, Zahara Bigaba, UBC News.
And Minister for Education and Sports Janet Museveni has pledged capitation grants to schools and an additional 30 million shillings budget to develop talents through sports. This message was delivered by the State Minister for Sports, Dennis Hamson-Obua, whom she delegated at the commissioning of Apache Seed Secondary School, Apache District, Northern Region.
Government, through Uganda Intergovernment Fiscal Transfer Program Project Fund, started a campaign of improving the education system aimed at providing adequate learning information to learners. This project targets government-aided seed secondary schools in the 18 regions of Uganda, with at least each sub-county having one seed school. The Uganda government partnered with the World Bank to make this plan possible, starting with the first phase, where 117 seed secondary schools were constructed in the 18 regions of Uganda. Apache Seed Secondary School in Apache District is situated in Northern Region. It is one of the 117 seed secondary schools completed in the first phase. While commissioning this modern facility in Northern Region, State Minister for Sports, Honorable Dennis Hamson-Obua, who represented the First Lady, Janet Kataha Museveni, implored NRM's commitment to bringing services nearer to citizens.
We are committed that under Phase 1, Phase 2 and Phase 3, we will construct a total of 259 seed secondary schools all over the country. Thereafter, we shall conduct another mapping exercise to establish new administrative units that came into existence after the last mapping exercise, and that will inform government of the next course of action.
Obua pledged the Ministry of Education and Sports extension to capitation grants and a 30 million shillings budget to sports to develop talents of young learners. Apache Seed Secondary School in Abbey Sub-County started in 2020, and the school's pioneer head teacher, James Akeba, applauded government for injecting billions of shillings in the projection of the school from primary to a 6-block seed secondary school, thus relieving parents from the burden of taking their children to far away places for education.
When studying here are not only from this locality, others are coming from other districts. Like we have students from Kwania, we have students from Lira, we have students who have crossed even the Lake Kwania from Amolatar. They are even here. We have even students from Masindi, the Banyoro, they are here.
Despite of the huge investment made by government to build Apache Seed Secondary School, Akeba raised understaffing, consistent power cuts, among other issues, calling for government's intervention. Honorable Betty Engola, woman MP, Apache District, lauded the NRM government for setting up a standard structure in the area, saying it will enroll a number of students regardless of gender.
Parents are seeing the value of education. That's why you have this high number. This school was just opened last year, with the coronavirus, around the area. So it's a good sign for me as a leader to have more, children in school. And children should remain in school. Teachers should teach.
Government, through the Ministry of Education, is still committed to constructing, equipping and staffing 252 seed secondary schools countrywide in 3 phases over a period of 5 years, comprising 177 in Phase 1, 115 schools in Phase 2, and 27 in Phase 3. This also includes and equipping the schools with 418 laboratories. I'm Nafka Farida and Ivan Juko.
Meanwhile, State Minister for Higher Education, State Minister for Higher Education, John Chrysostom Muyingo, has cautioned management and head teachers of the Commission's government seed secondary schools not to form boarding sections until the Ministry of Education and Sports issues a policy on the matter. The restraint follows the absence of perimeter walls in many of the Commission's seed secondary schools, which contractors say they were never catered for in the budgets. Muyingo says in Chemyende sub-county, Mukono district, where he commissioned St. Andrew's Ndwademutwe Seed Secondary School.
Has undertaken a number of initiatives aimed at ensuring that Ugandan entities and are adequately equipped to participate in the oil and gas sector.
In 2012, working with the Total E&P until 2019, where we worked on the replacement houses and we delivered 30 houses for the people who were being relocated from the industrial area. We also working with the Total Energies on over 10 kilometers of roads that we are undertaking. There's a ripple effect. We are getting the services of labor within the communities, materials. Total Energies has been of great assist to our development. We've expanded our plant and equipment. We've developed human resources, and we've also improved our management skills.
Total Energies EP Uganda is committed to the empowerment of Uganda to take an active part in the overall development of the oil project in Uganda.
It's time to learn. Schools are open. As a student, school life is going to be different. You must follow the COVID-19 prevention measures, which include always maintaining a 2-meter distance from others in class, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, regularly washing your hands with soap and water, wearing a washed and clean mask that covers your mouth and nose every day, and encouraging your classmates to do the same. Your teachers will also guide you on how to follow SOPs. Don't engage in violence with other students. Report any cases of abuse by teachers or other children to a senior teacher. Those who don't follow the rules should be immediately reported to a class teacher for correction and further guidance. If you experience flu-like symptoms such as a sore throat, fever, dry cough or body weakness, immediately seek medical attention from the school nurse and inform your class teacher. Whenever you sneeze or cough, please remember to cover your nose and mouth with a bent elbow, tissue or handkerchief. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
The construction of many of the seed schools in question started in 2018 under the Uganda Intergovernment Fiscal Transfer Program Phase 1. The commissioning of 117 secondary schools in Phase 1 is in line with government's effort to extend secondary education to all Ugandans by having at least one school in each sub-county. The seed school program is also in the NRA manifesto of increasing access to education through construction of more classrooms, build teachers' houses, improve student textbook material ratios in order to further improve the quality of secondary education, recruit secondary school teachers to meet the increasing demand, among others. However, many of the seed secondary schools being funded by government in a partnership with the World Bank across the country have no perimeter walls, but contractors say the perimeter walls were never catered for in the budget. In response to the absence of perimeter walls, the State Minister for Education, John Crizesto Moyingo, urged administrators and head teachers to avoid forming up boarding sections until they acquire licenses from the line ministry.
They remain functional. One mistake they should not do that is being forced onto them is to try to convert them into boarding schools. That's not acceptable. These schools were designed to accommodate students who come from their homes to the school in the morning and go back in the evening.
During the commissioning of St. Andrews in Wademutwe Seed Secondary School located in Chimenye, the sub-county, Mukono district, State Minister Moyingo applauded Mukono Diocese Church of Uganda for donating land for construction of the Seed Secondary School.
In education, and education means that every child of school-going age should be enabled to go to school, stay there, and acquire the best of his ability.
Meanwhile, in Kayunga district, Nazigo sub-county, the State Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Amos Lugolobi, also commissioned the Musitwa Seed Secondary School. He expressed the need for maintaining capital grants for seed schools across the country.
We have lost so many schools for lack of maintenance. So I think one of the issues that we are going to look at very critically is how to maintain these schools.
The government of Uganda spent over 3 billion Uganda shillings to construct the 2 seed secondary schools in Kayunga and the Mukono district, respectively. Robert Katamba, UBC News.
And government is committed to ensure many Ugandans, especially the youth, acquire skills. Acting Director, Directorate of Industrial Training, Patrick Byagatonda, represented the Minister for State for Higher Education, John Crizesto Moyingo, at the launch of the KCB GZ Youth and Skilling Partnership Program in Kampala.
Coca-Cola Beverages Africa has supported the Uganda Red Cross Society with 360 million Uganda shillings to advance COVID-19 vaccination campaigns across the country. The challenge is that some people are still hesitant to take up COVID-19 vaccination, yet the coronavirus threat is still with us.
We have the responsibility, as I said, to play our part for the economy to recover. The fastest the economy recovers, all of us as stakeholders will benefit more.
The Red Cross Society commended the support of Coca-Cola, saying the population needs to embrace COVID-19 vaccination to avert the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
As a country, are we safe as far as COVID is concerned? No, we are not safe. How can we be safe? We can only be safe if all Ugandans are vaccinated, if we continue observing the standard operating procedures.
Relatedly, Boundless Minds, a youth organization, also received 10 million shillings from Coca-Cola Beverages to promote mentorship of young people to prepare them for job creation and employment.
We're going to be working with 100 young people, each of whom will be tutoring 25 others in their campuses. So most of them are university students and students in vocational schools, right? So each of those 100 will be required to tutor 25 others and teach them the things that they're learning.
Care Community Education Center, SEDAC, CTB Global, a community-based non-government organization in Yumbe district, also received 107 million shillings to advance economic empowerment of women.
I come from a district which borders southern Sudan, where you can't expect that women of Yumbe district to be part of such a community empowerment.
In total, Coca-Cola Beverages has this month invested 477 million Uganda shillings towards the welfare and empowerment of communities.
And that's private companies and organizations that have come on board to help in intensifying the COVID-19 vaccination campaign. Of course, the aim is to create more awareness about the existent threat of coronavirus and the need for mass vaccination. But moving on, government is committed to ensure many Ugandans, especially the youth, acquire skills. The acting director, Directorate of Industrial Training, Patrick Byakatonda, represented the Minister of State for Higher Education at the launch of the KCB GIZ Youth and Skilling Partnership Program in Kampala.
Government, through Ministry of Education, has prioritized skills development and set up infrastructure and policies to serve the beneficiaries. The program seeks to create self-employment and establish enterprise among unskilled and semi-skilled youth in Uganda.
My prayer is that the continued growth program provides an opportunity for more Ugandans, because 4,000 applied and only a small number has benefited, can attain training, assessment and certification.
Training will be conducted in 6 vocational training institutes of Jinja, Lugogo, Nyamitanga, Daniel Komboni and Datamine. The director, KCB Uganda, Edgar Biama, says learners will be imparted with skills for self-employment. Startup kits and loans will be added on them upon completion.
Overall, our objective is to increase the employability and income generation of these youths and Ugandans in general working in the construction sector. I'm happy to note that this program and so many others that speak to enterprise development has been very successful in Kenya.
For me, it is extremely motivating as someone working for GIZ to see young people getting into jobs and getting opportunities that they wouldn't normally have. So that's the biggest benefit that we can have.
2,000 youth will benefit from the 2 years non-formal training, of which 30% are females.
Yeah, when you get skilled for jobs, you can create.
Actually, to also employ other guys, our colleagues, we can also be able to train our fellow colleagues.
I'm Nafka Farida and Ganga Henry.
And the public and private sector have vowed to join forces in order to curb illicit trade in Uganda. At a meeting in Kampala, the business community decried the high level of illicit trade, which they blamed for hampering innovation and denying government significant revenue. According to recent statistics, over 40 billion Ugandan shillings is lost annually in revenue to illicit trade.
Illicit trade in Uganda has over time become an influential business to a multitude of people who are benefiting economically and socially from the vice. Most criminals deal in mainstream goods such as cooking oil, soap, medicine, foodstuff and alcohol, among others, that are on high public demand.
Many of the people will want to go for alternate goods that are probably cheaper. And in most cases, those are the goods that are not genuine. And the fact that it is a very profitable trade, just like any crime. They don't pay taxes, they are not regulated, but they are earning.
This has in the long run affected the country's revenue collection, the public's health, and downgraded the importance of innovation. It is estimated that Uganda loses 50 billion shillings annually due to illicit trade. And thus, there is need to expedite the enactment of a law on illicit trade in order to facilitate investments.
Using counterfeit is a time bomb. Apart from being used by terrorists, it affects life, it affects innovation, it affects research, it affects the collection of revenue, and it is something we must all jointly condemn.
Most of our traders are upgrading to manufacturing. Now imagine you have invested in your product and someone is counterfeiting it. Most of these counterfeits on the market are actually sold cheaply. So as they are sold cheaply, then the market is distorted. Your investment is affected.
The concerned parties concurred on the need for collaboration and sensitization of the general public in curbing illicit trade.
If you don't have an enabling law, even the courts will not be able to give a punitive punishment. Lawbreakers will go scot-free. So an enabling law is crowns the whole effort.
Illicit trade is the production, importation, exportation, purchase, sale or possession of goods which fail to comply with legislation. The most common type of illicit trade is dealing in counterfeit products.
And the State Minister for Primary Education, Joyce Moriko-Kaduchu, has urged parents and leaders and other stakeholders to fight against teenage pregnancies as well as promote education for the girl child. She was commissioning a 2 billion Buchiro seed secondary school in Mbarara district, which was constructed under the Intergovernmental Fiscal Transfers Program.
The government of Uganda, through the Intergovernmental Fiscal Transfers Program, embarked on the construction of 259 seed secondary schools in sub-counties that never had a government school. So far, 117 seed schools have been constructed countrywide in the first phase to fix the education gaps, especially for those that would trek distances to access secondary schools. Bukiro Seed Secondary School, located in Mbara district, is one of these schools that government has constructed from scratch within the first phase. Everywhere government constructed a seed secondary school, leaders had to first secure enough land to accommodate the school infrastructure. Each seed secondary school has been equipped with a computer lab, spacious classrooms, playgrounds, staff quarters, agricultural areas, among others.
Some of our children had dropped out of school long before, and they have been at home languishing there, waiting for an opportunity to come back to school. We have some students. I will actually tip you off on some of them. I thought we would have time because some of them have been involved in preparing for you, to dance for you. Children who have been at home like 5 years. He sits exam PLE and he's at home for the next 5 years. So when seed school opened, they came here to live their dream. Thanks to government.
Government is now remaining with an uphill task of providing scholastic materials to these schools.
Some of these schools, the teaching materials are not enough. You find the senior ones, especially for the lower secondary curriculum, a school of 100 plus senior ones, they only given 20 copies of textbooks. At some schools, they do not have teachers' guides.
I now unveil it.
While launching Bukiro Seed Secondary School in Mbara District, State Minister for Primary Education, Honorable Joyce Moriko-Kaduchu, said government under the stewardship of President Museveni is continuing to build more schools, but asked children and parents to embrace them.
Enable the girls to achieve their vision and mission. Do not cut their future short. I want to appeal to my daughters in this school to follow the footsteps of very many mentors who are here.
Kaduku said those that conceived during the COVID-19 lockdown should be given another chance to go back to school and complete their studies.
And this is the year that we want to ensure the girls who gotten pregnant are not married. They have to get given second chance. Girls who might have gotten pregnant, it's not their choice, it's not their wishes. They need to be given second chance.
Whereas government continues to construct these state-of-the-art seed schools, it is yet to include hostels for boarding students. Students and teachers now request government to construct for them dormitories, especially for girls.
Dormitory for girls, I can't emphasize it more. And then an incinerator. I have already whispered to the Honorable Chief Guest that if we get commissioned by a lady and we don't get an incinerator, no one will be happy.
Some of these schools were constructed in areas that are yet to be connected to the national grid.
It's very, very important for security here because these facilities will be vandalized if there is no solar security lights in the area. That one will be handled by ministry. We shall get back to office and also see how we can contract for these schools solar security lamps for these city schools.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries has received diagnostic laboratory equipment donated by Mercy Corps worth $235,000 to the National Referral Laboratory, NADEC, in Entebbe and the Zonal Veterinary Laboratory in Karamoja region.
These are the diagnostic laboratory equipment worth $235,000 donated to the Ministry of Agriculture, handed over to the State Minister for Animal Industry, Bright Ramirama, by the Deputy Mission Director, who said, Daniela Nyirandutie.
To seeing where this goes. Thank you.
Diagnostic equipment and kits that we are receiving will greatly improve our diagnostic and disease surveillance capacity of National Referral Laboratory NADEC, where we are today, and the Zonal Veterinary Laboratory for Karamoja.
Ramirama applauded Mercy Corps for the continued support and commended them for the harmonious contribution to the animal health in the country.
I wish to extend the government of Uganda's gratitude to the government and the people of the United States of America through USAID for providing the financial support and Mercy Corps for the continued commitment to support Uganda Vision 2040 and the National Development Plan 3.
The Deputy Mission Director, who said, Daniela Nyirandutie, says U.S. government through USAID partners with Mercy Corps will support food security and livelihood in Karamoja region.
And as we mentioned, there are many challenges, but there are also many opportunities in Karamoja, given that Karamoja contributes so much to the animal economy. Karamojans be able to raise healthy cattle that can be sold at a reasonable price.
Nyirandutie expressed the need to improve access to veterinary services in Karamoja. The country director, Mercy Corps, Edward Simiyu, says they managed to identify the needs on the ground, especially in Karamoja, through the collaboration they have established with the ministry.
Mercy Corps has also been behind the support to the government to develop actually livestock disease control strategies. So we've been there working and supporting the government, and so to make this contribution really is a culmination of that process.
They pledged to continue supporting the government by filling up gaps. Other laboratory equipment donated include microscopes, 3 PTR machines, refrigerators, test kits necessary for diagnosing animal diseases at a cost of $235,000.
Need to send money to a loved one but you don't have enough on your phone? Have you run out of fuel but you don't have enough money? Do you want to pay for yaka or water but have insufficient funds? Or do you want to shop but you don't have enough money? Don't worry, get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Are you a business owner, farmer, or any person in need of credit? Do you know that other than land, you can use movable properties such as motor vehicles, household items, farm produce, and many others? With Simple, your property is your opportunity. Simple is the security interest in movable property registry system. It is an online register hosted by URSB for registration of security interest on movable property. Log on to simple.ursb.go.ug today or call our toll-free number 0800-100006. Simple. Safer lending, easier borrowing.
This message was brought to you by Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
Enjoy convenience today with Airtel Money School Pay, FlexiPay, or Bridge Schools. To pay school fees using FlexiPay, dial *185#. Select option 6 School Fees. Select option 3 FlexiPay. Enter the school code. Enter the student number. Enter the amount. Enter the PIN number to complete payment. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
And on business, the Sukuru phosphate plant is on the brink of becoming a white elephant project after stalling for at least 2 years. Located in the Uganda Free Zones Industrial Complex at Usukuru in Tororo District, a multi-billion plant launched in 2018 has failed to live to its expectations. Besides requiring $600 million financial boost for revival, the representatives of Guangzhou Dongsong Energy Group are appealing for a presidential intervention to settle the ownership dispute.
This once neat and organized manufacturing plant, employing over 1,000 people, is a shadow of its former self. Osukuru Phosphate Fertilizer Plant in Tororo District, owned by Guangzhou Dongsong Energy Group of China, is no longer operational.
For you, the Chinese, how can you come and struggle here until a project in Uganda is suspended? It should have been other people. Do you think you will resolve this issue in China? Are you going to unlock this, resolve these issues of yours in the other place? Because we want to continue. We are looking at these magnificent buildings, but if nothing is done, what do we do? So Uganda government has already brought them here in good faith.
The Uganda shillings 3 trillion project, with prospects of producing 300,000 tons of phosphate fertilizer annually for local and regional consumption, is on the verge of becoming a white elephant project if nothing is done to urgently resuscitate it. Currently, there are no machines running, and there are reports that some of the equipment installed for phosphate production has been vandalized as the owners' row over ownership and financial wars drag on. According to the plant representatives, its revival may require the intervention of President Yoweri Museveni and President Xi of China.
And to involve more Chinese state-owned company for the cooperation. And we believe this is the only way to make the project continue.
This is in addition of over $600 million of investment to kickstart the plant operations.
We scratch our heads. What can we do to make sure that this plant delivers? Okay? The implication of not delivering is far-reaching, politically, socially, economically. You know, the plant came with a lot of anxiety from the community, anxiety from government. Ministry of Finance knew they were going to get money. Agriculture knew they were going to get fertilizers. The people of Tororo knew that they were going to get jobs for the community. So,
launched in 2018, Osukuru Phosphate Plant was touted as Uganda's magic investment, vital in achieving better agricultural yields. It targeted rich phosphate deposits and iron reserves in the eastern region of the country. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
Meanwhile, lack of collateral has made it hard for most small entrepreneurs to acquire loans from commercial banks and credit institutions. This has partly become one of the reasons that has affected recovery of most SMEs following the long closure of the economy due to COVID-19.
A number of businesses and entrepreneurs in Uganda usually depend on commercial loans to start and sometimes to uphold their survival. However, acquisition of a commercial loan from any credit facility requires one to have at least collateral like a land title or an equivalent.
Find like getting a bank loan, you need land or assets which are not really available for most entrepreneurs who are starting out.
If you think about how many young entrepreneurs really have a land title to they be able to access a commercial loan, they're very few.
During the lockdown, a number of businesses ran into financial shock that so many sink with unserviced loans.
Most of the government licenses are very achievable. Some are free. For example, our investment license is free. TIN registration is free. A lot of other things that you can actually get from a government agency is free. So we are trying to speed up the process.
Faith Aweko, founder of Reform Africa, a young entrepreneur dealing in plastic waste management, narrates her struggle of financial recovery after the lockdown of COVID-19.
In 2021, we made 4,500 bags despite of the COVID pandemic.
Initially employing over 20 people, is still struggling with maintaining her employees.
Closure of the schools, but this has also given us an opportunity to pivot and look for new ways of how to run our business, like for example, exporting more.
She's just among those few young local investors who suffered the effects of the pandemic. Entrepreneurs have, however, called upon government to put in place favorable policies that ease capital acquisition and recovery funds.
Maybe high net worth individuals who are happy to put money into entrepreneurial people. We don't have that culture here where we have rich people putting money into risky entrepreneurs to scale.
In a bounce back initiative, Uganda Investment Authority has pledged to continue helping young entrepreneurs in sourcing for funding and market internationally. Joseph Chigundu is the director one-stop center at Uganda Investment Authority.
We're also trying to do our part as government to expose the businesses to markets, because as you know, market failure is one of the challenges that access to markets is one of the challenges they face.
Entrepreneurship not only services the country's GDP bag, all employees, thousands, both directly and indirectly. Joshua Kagoro, Andrew Sebira, UBC News.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone and enjoy free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 Uganda shillings. That's free 2 GB for the first month and free 1 GB for the next 11 months at only Uganda shillings with free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 shillings only. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Brought to you by.
We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Well, that does it for News Tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Elizabeth Nakakoni, our sign language interpreter. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Have yourselves a lovely night.
It's time to learn. Schools are open. As a student, school life is going to be different. You must follow the COVID-19 prevention measures, which include always maintaining a 2-meter distance from others in class, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, regularly washing your hands with soap and water, wearing a washed and clean mask that covers your mouth and nose every day, and encouraging your classmates to do the same. Your teachers will also guide you on how to follow SOPs. Don't engage in violence with other students. Report any cases of abuse by teachers or other children to a senior teacher. Those who don't follow the rules should be immediately reported to a class teacher for correction and further guidance. If you experience flu-like symptoms such as a sore throat, fever, dry cough or body weakness, immediately seek medical attention from the school nurse and inform your class teacher. Whenever you sneeze or cough, please remember, to cover your nose and mouth with a bent elbow, tissue, or handkerchief. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
Total has undertaken a number of initiatives aimed at ensuring that Ugandans and citizens are adequately equipped to participate in the oil and gas sector.
In 2012, we started working with the Total E&P. Until 2019, we worked on the replacement houses, and we delivered 30 houses for the people who are being relocated from the industrial area. We are also working with the Total Energies on over 10 kilometers of roads that we are undertaking. There's a ripple effect. We are getting the services of labor within the communities, materials. Total Energies has been of great assistance to our development. We've expanded our plant and equipment. We've developed our human resources. We've also improved our management skills.
Total Energies EP Uganda is committed to the empowerment of Ugandans to take an active part in the overall development of the oil project